talking about that now, we've got Ntiense Williams, head coach, Edo State Rugby Association. Thank you for staying with us and thank you for joining the show today. Can you kindly unmute your mic? You are currently on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ntiense? If you can hear me, kindly unmute your mic. So, all right.
Hello.
We can hear you. The gremlins have not disturbed the network today, but thank you very much for joining the show. All right, let's talk. I've got Okpaya Abibari right here on the show as well. Talking about rugby, of course, you are called Mr. Rugby and you know everything about rugby in the country. But yeah, this is a good fit for Nigeria. But again, playing against an experienced side in Tunisia, don't you think it would be a tough battle ahead for the Stallions?
Well, I think that it's one of those games that you have to play. You know, in rugby, we have different stages of the game. This event is actually a repechage, which is preparing teams to go and join in the main tournament. Now, these activities are all geared towards the 2027 Rugby World Cup, which is going to be staged in Australia. Africa has one slot, and you have everybody in Africa playing in what is called the Africa Cup. Now, last year, the Africa Cup was hosted in Uganda, and you had Zimbabwe, Sebels, you know, winning. Now, the first 8 teams of that competition is waiting to play against Morocco, that has qualified now, and the next team that will qualify from this second repechage. Now, the 2 teams will now join the 7 other teams to now make up a pool of 10 teams, 9 teams actually, and they will now play in the round robin to come up with the sole Africa representative in the Rugby World Cup. Now, the runners-up of that event will now go into another repechage against the Asia's runners-up, and we will decide whether we can have a second team from Africa going to the World Cup. Now, as it relates to the Tunisian match, which is coming up from the 16th of this December through to the 22nd, the Nigerian national team will be entering camp on the 10th in Abuja, and they've more or less put together a good squad, which is a blend of the foreign base and the local base. This year, we thank God that we had a little bit of rugby activities in Lagos and in the South. And, you know, the North has been having, you know, a couple of games on their own. So the selection was taken from there, and it gives a blend of domestic players. But for me, there has not been enough activities of rugby in Nigeria. We are playing in this competition because it's a mandatory thing for a member union of the World Rugby to participate in the qualifying stages. And all member unions must go and participate. So Nigeria is also participating. But you have, after this event, if Nigeria is to qualify, Nigeria will now join the rest of the 8 other countries to now slug it out for the sole representative from Africa.
Right. All right, then, Mr. Williams, I mean, over the years, you've witnessed the progress of rugby in Nigeria. You've seen some highs, you've seen some lows, but I mean, coming into these qualifiers,
in your own opinion, do you think that Nigeria has a chance in making it for the World Cup?
No, I don't. I don't need to mince words here. Like I said to you, there's only one country that is going to qualify for the World Cup. And so far in the last 4 World Cups, it's been Namibia. Namibia is next to South Africa, and South Africa is always there because South Africa has always qualified for the quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup itself. So every team that qualifies to the quarterfinals has an automatic qualifications for the next Rugby World Cup. So that's why South Africa is not playing in the Africa qualifications. So Namibia has actually been the sole African country that has been representing Africa in the Rugby World Cup. Such big stage is not for the smaller countries, but what the World Rugby does is to make sure that every member union country is given a sense of belonging for them to be able to participate and to be able to qualify within their own zones and then get to the stage of the world level if they are good enough. Now, it is not advisable for any minor countries involved in rugby to go and play in the Rugby World Cup itself because you are bound to get serious injuries. There are different levels, and Nigeria is on the lower level. But be that as it may, this game in Tunisia is meant to be a very good testing ground for the Nigerian national team to see how good we are. And again, every competition in rugby leads you to something else. They need to break into the Africa Cup once again. And that is going to be one of the good things that you gain from winning this repechage against Tunisia. Now, it's just going to be 3 matches, right? Yeah. There are 4 teams there. Ghana is going to be playing against Zambia, and Nigeria will be playing against the host Tunisia. Now, the winners of that will play against each other to determine who goes to the main competition, whilst the remaining 3 will now wait for classification. And then when that competition is finished in July next year, they will now get back to the Africa Cup, where by that time Nigeria will be back onto that stage. Now, that is the highest level of 15-a-side rugby in Africa.
All right. Looking at that now, with all of this preparation, I also learned that the Stallions of Nigeria will be donning a new jersey, and it also shows that there's a lot of support going to Rugby Nigeria when it comes to tournaments like this.
Yes, I'm very happy to hear that Umbro is actually endorsing the Stallions. That's a very good one from the board. We look forward to it trickling down to the development of rugby in Nigeria as well. By having such endorsement, I don't know the details of it, no doubt, but I believe it's a step in the right direction. And if we can actually get more of that coming in, then the local leagues will also, have a fair share of, sponsorship. This year, what we've actually done was actually self-help. We just decided we want to play rugby, and the clubs have been playing on their own, but in a formalized setting. And we're looking forward to the National League finals, which would bring together the winners from the north, the south, and the southeast, basically the 6 geopolitical zones, to determine who is actually the winners of the 2024 rugby season, both for male and for female. And we're also trying to get back into the under-18s, which is very good development for rugby, because when you're talking in terms of schools rugby, that is where they actually get to the top, of their participation.
Yeah.
And Nigeria is a former back-to-back, champions of the under-18 tournament. So we would want to, get back onto that level,
right,
in the development of rugby in Nigeria.
All right, so we look forward to more development in the sport, because other sports are keening into development, especially partnering with professional bodies outside the country, and we just hope for more growth for rugby in the country. And also, this will also serve as an eye-opener for the Black Stallions of Nigeria. Wishing them well in this Repechage tournament, first game against Tunisia, and of course, we'll see how it goes from there. But of course, thank you very much, Ntiente Williams, for joining us today.
You're welcome.